citizens of planet Earth, everything is theoretically impossible until it is done.
A great idea starts small. So small, it fits in a mailbox.
Ooh, you know I love when a story starts like that.
Yes!
Woo!
And from there, it grows.
Netflix has now become a streaming video colossus that has totally transformed the way we watch TV.
It becomes more than an idea. It becomes a moment where reality is suspended or becomes all too real. Where hearts start racing or stop in an instant.
It cannot be the end. I'm the man that walked out of fire.
And someone risks it all
My heart is racing.
This is your person.
to be their true self.
Let's blow the roof off this mother. But let's also make sure people pick up after themselves. Cheers. Yeah.
This is the moment
Lady Gaga goes full Wednesday.
where a dance becomes more than just a dance. Where worlds in the upside down make their way to the surface. And a song can save your life.
Kate Bush is running back up to #1 thanks to Stranger Things.
I'm so in on team whatever this company's called.
These moments inspire the masses.
Queen's Gambit has increased test sales triple digits.
in what's being called the Netflix effect.
Turn strangers into fans.
We're going to the Bridgerton experience.
And spark conversations that create change.
Join me.
We stand up on any stage and every screen.
We've created culture's biggest moments. Because we're in the business of entertaining the world.
Well, now.
And the next great moment is waiting for you.
I think I'm going to love it here.
Come with me now. Find out for yourself.
Please welcome your host, John Battelle.
Right on, all right. Excellent. Guess what we're going to talk about? How many of you have Netflix subscriptions? All right, that's pretty universal. All right, how many of you lost your Netflix when you couldn't share a password anymore? There you go. Well, we'll talk to our next guest about that. Please join me in welcoming Jeremi Gorman, who is the president, Global Advertising at Netflix.
Hi. Was that
right.
a lot of hands with who has Netflix? I could only see
Yes,
John.
it was a lot of hands.
Okay, great.
There were a few
We're in
people
good
who were
spot.
upset about your password sharing crackdown.
Upset? How? No, it's actually I think one of the things we were going to talk about is really our large job is to entertain the world, and it takes a lot of money to entertain the world. We're a profitable streamer, which is great and exciting, and allows us to make more content, and so people paying for the service is helpful and allows us to make more great content. And I will say that I am one of the sharers. I had logged into my parents' account like many of you one time, or sorry, other way around. I was at their house for Christmas, and they're like, let's watch Netflix, and it was all slow and laborious, like the boop, 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 and I was like, give me the remote. And they've been on my Netflix account for like 10 years, so I'm gonna kick them off. No, that's not true. I'm gonna pay for them.
There we go. That's very kind of you.
They are lovely people.
I mean, you could comp them. I mean, you're the president of global advertising at Netflix. But...
If I could comp somebody, it would be myself, and we don't do that either. So.
Well, let's get into this then. Thank you so much for coming. You know, the title of this is Advertising on Netflix. We spent the morning talking to a lot of corporate leaders who are navigating significant transitions, like GE turning into 3 companies, for example. But Netflix was never going to have advertising. Famous quote from your founding CEO. And that changed.
It did, thankfully.
And I was not surprised when I heard you were going there, because I knew that they were looking for the best people, and I knew you from your prior life. You've been here 3 times.
This is my 4th time here and 3rd time speaking.
Yeah, Yahoo and Snap and Amazon, that's right. Let's just get into it. What is the stage of the business now? It's been eight months?
It's been 8 months. We launched in 12 countries from November 1st to November 10th. I started September 26th for context, so that was, I'm going to say, a very sleepless 5 weeks, and continues to be, because we're at this crawl, walk, run stage. We talked about that at that.
Where are you? Are you still crawling?
We're still crawling, for sure. I mean, though we talk about
what does that look like, crawling? How many people?
Like, physically, you want me to
how
do
many
that
you
right
know?
now? Okay.
No, but
any volunteers to crawl? No.
But like, how many human beings can you impress using advertising at Netflix? Let's just use one market in the United States.
So we're talking about it globally at the moment, so I will do that. One of the things that so we're still very much crawling. We started adding the people to the ads tier. People could choose the ads tier on the same day we launched advertising, so we're growing both in parallel. We announced at the upfronts in May that we had 5 million global monthly active users, and that is super interesting way to talk about it, is that we are deliberately hiring people that have digital backgrounds. I'm all digital my whole career. And then we have Peter Naylor, for instance, who many of you may know, who's pretty much all TV his whole career. And so that we can kind of push against each other to say, just because we're television doesn't mean we have to measure the same way. So we're starting to talk about MAU instead of subscriptions, because if you have a subscription but you don't watch it, it doesn't really matter. So we announced 5 million MAU at the upfronts, and we haven't come out with our new number just yet, but I'm pleased with it, is a good way to put it. So a lot of quick growth there, but still so much more room to grow, and it's really just about giving customers choice.
5 million global as of May. You can't tell us what it is in the United States, but what percentage of that 5 million is the United States?
I will say that it follows the global population in the way that you would expect. Australia is smaller than the United States in terms of our, in terms of our
All right, we'll move
base.
along here. Give me the sort of elevator pitch to the advertiser. Why should they take an early chance, while you're still at this early growth stage? Why should they hitch their wagon to you right now?
I think a lot of reasons. One is that just fundamentally we have a lot of eyeballs. Again, I didn't see the hands, but I trust that many of you have Netflix subscriptions or the #1 streaming service. People want to be associated with the zeitgeist, and we are very zeitgeisty. You look at shows like Wednesday, for instance, and the dance that the Jenna Ortega character did, the Wednesday character rather, got 16 billion views on TikTok. Lady Gaga got in on it and did it herself, and we kind of call that the Netflix effect, which you talked about up there. But I think the stark reality is these things take a really long time to film and build, especially the originals. And when you're with us from the beginning, you get to help do that alongside of us. I had an example as recently as this week that I learned about a show that we're making, and I was like, oh, that would be perfect for X advertiser. It won't come out for 2 more years, but we were able to get an integration within 2 days. Like, we bought the actual physical product and we took it to the physical set. And these kinds of things, they'll be able to use our IP in order to promote the association with the show. The GM commercial that you may have seen at the Super Bowl that was utilizing Netflix IP, Bridgerton, et cetera. Will Ferrell was in it, won a Cannes Lion, and it was effective, Mark, if you're listening. Moved more product for GM. That was years in the making. So what I worry about with advertisers that are kind of like wait and see is that those aren't the phone calls we're making. And those are the deepest, most important associations, which shows If you look at last year, 2022, 10 of the top 10 shows were Netflix shows, and I think people want to be associated with that. So we have 15s and 30s. This is very much a crawl, but the partnership is really, really important because we all want to grow together.
So let me just ask you a very quick question about those 15 and 30s. I've had the pleasure of being run through the purchasing process at P&G.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Yep.
As a media provider. Yeah, it's a gauntlet. So I called some people I know, asked them what they thought about your new offering, and they said it's expensive. You know, is it always going to be that expensive?
You know, as mentioned, we're doing the two parallel paths at the same time. So like all good procurement processes, we too are in a supply and demand situation. But the reality is, you know, with relatively constrained supply, so
right.
and lots of demand. So we're there right now, but also the content is extremely premium. And I think that we will continue to have a premium CPM, but of course, as the audience grows, we will just make good choices. But kind of hearkening back to my previous answer, I think that's fair and right when you look at 15s and 30s. But when you look at the entirety of something that you can do together, like GM didn't pay for that, for instance, and then you know those ads ran as 15s and 30s, or great integration with P&G and The Witcher and Old Spice. And those kinds of integrations take a really long time. We only permit our IP to be utilized by certain brands. And then the extrapolation is kind of those 15s and 30s and then putting them other places. So, you know, I don't want to shy away from it, but it's super premium. Our people are watching, or 80% of our members watch over 2 hours. And in a world in which linear audiences are degrading and the incrementality and our average age on the ad tier is 34, you know, we're really in a sweet spot. And that's not to say we don't listen to procurement departments. We certainly do. We want to do business with everyone. We're in 160 countries and reach the world. And we recognize that some of those things will need to change over time. But right now, it's limited supply, premium inventory.
There we go. All right. You know, if I recall from that upfront presentation, that the 5 million, I remember that 5 million figure, but I remember another one, which was 25% of new subscribers choose the ad tier, right? Which of course makes me want to know how large is the pool of new subscribers, so then I can do the math and project forward.
You should wait till earnings, and then you'll be able to do that math.
Okay, I'll wait till earnings.
I also.
Where are you happy? Like, is there a number in your head? Just if you could wave a magic wand, and you know, is it 50 million? Does that make you happy? Is it 500 million advertised MAUs?
I think the 25% number makes me happy. If it were 25% of the overall member population of Netflix in 160 countries, that would make me extremely happy. Obviously, I think the 25% number is really reassuring that this is something that people want, that the customer choice at certain price points are really important. We're only running 4 to 5 minutes of ads per hour, which is really, really unique to streaming. And so that, again, kind of makes it a little bit more premium. But the more members that we have and the longer time that they watch, the more that we will, I mean, we are remaining committed to that promise, and we can because we have them for so long. So 25% of the total member base would make me happy, and it's great to see that people are choosing it because they don't have to.
That's right, they don't. So I'm curious about a corporate culture sort of question, and this is just coming up. Again, it's not on my clipboard, sorry. But you're reasonably new to Netflix. It had an entrenched culture. Every company does. Are you like the pirate ship, like the people building the Mac inside of Apple, you know, or are you finding that the company is embracing this concept?
Both. I like being a pirate, though. I was early at Amazon Ads, as you know, too, so kind of gone through this a bit before. I think that worked out pretty well for them. I know they're
I would
later,
say
so
that's
that was a good
big
bet.
business for Amazon now.
I think it's both. I think we need to we advertising team need to better understand the Netflix culture. We need to understand that it is a creator first. That's very clear. The reason that all this content is so big and so powerful is because Netflix can attract the best creators in the world, the Shonda Rhimes, the Duffer Brothers who made Stranger Things, and others. And if advertising sort of gets in the way of that in ways that don't make them comfortable, or there's a big retrenchment of creators, then we don't have anything. And so it's really important for us to say, listen, we have tens of thousands of pieces of content. We're not going to take down any one thing because one advertiser doesn't like it. We're provided the tools for people to just say, I don't want to run in this particular show, and that's what we're doing with that. It's definitely a little piratey. I'll tell a funny story that you kind of briefly mentioned is Netflix has very loudly said Netflix does not do advertising. It's called a strategy bet. They're public facing. Reed Hastings, who was still the CEO when I started, made that bet, then we bet on advertising. And I had accepted the role, stayed at my previous company for about a month after that, and so they couldn't send me anything, but they sent me the public stuff. And the very first thing they sent me is a PowerPoint that says Netflix doesn't do advertising. I was like, oh crap, I think I just blew up my whole life for this. But nonetheless, it is entrenched. But I think that the part where members are choosing it is making everybody really, really comfortable to say, oh, wait, we gave this option. It's less expensive. They still get to enjoy the same great content. They're watching at the same rate as other people, as non-ads members. So it's, it'll take time. It's a little piratey, but pirates are fun.
So I want to get into one of the things that I've sort of been on about for about 20 years now, is how the digital is supposed to fix silos, but instead all we did is affix silos into the ground and not connect them. It's endless, the number of silos that have been built in the last 20 or 30 years. And the number one complaint I hear about connected television is how you can't, as a marketer, really understand who you're reaching across in more than one place, right? And not only that, it's very difficult to manage reach and frequency. It's sort of the running joke is that I'm seeing the same ad 7 times and it's for Pampers and I don't have a baby. Sorry, Mark. But it's very, first of all, why is it so hard to get this right? And second of all, given that Netflix is thrown in here, I think a lot of people hope that you might help fix this problem.
I hope so too, and it's part of the reason that I wanted to come here is I feel like we do have a unique opportunity to help fix the problem. I wish that was some like brain power situation, but it's really last mover advantage. We know what the problems are. You know, I watch ad-supported CTV too, and I'm like, got it, saving on car insurance, like over and over and over. More than 15 seconds can save me 15% or more. And I think that those, and we know that now. And a lot of the reason that some of that has happened is that the supply sources come from everywhere. So if you look at, 5 different DSPs selling the same inventory, the frequency capping control is really, really challenging on that because you're getting one demand source from Trade Desk, you're getting another one that was sold direct, you're getting another one that's sold through an agency holding company.
There's no connection between that external demand. Yes.
That's right. That's right. And so then, even though each one of those companies is in earnest saying we won't do that, or there's a frequency cap, if they're not talking to each other, it happens inadvertently. We are fortunate enough to be big enough, or will be big enough on the ad-supported tier, but in general with our streaming hours, that we're not selling into DSPs at the moment. We run on the Xandr stack, which is great, but they are our sole provider of tech. So I think we can solve it that way. And then in addition, because we have 25 years worth of history with the members too, we can also be more precise around the kinds of things that they would like and want based on sort of genre and that sort of thing. But I do think we can solve it. I think it's solvable. I think it will take all of us though, because when you're sitting in these seats, you have a lot of companies like Procter where rightfully you say, this is the one I want to use, and if you don't use this one, then we won't do business with you. You're not the only company that does that or says that, and it's super fair, and you should absolutely have your preferred sources, but that means we have to have all of them. So I think what would help each other would actually be, what are the three, and not that we need to anoint three in this room, plus I can only see half of you and it wouldn't be a fair vote because there's lights, but the ecosystem is so fractured that we then end up with like 20 different supply sources, we publishers, not we Netflix, but end up with 20 different supply sources because we want to do business with all of you, and then that problem compounds upon itself.
Yeah.
So I think it's really the industry coming together and saying, this is a problem.
Yeah.
People ran away from TV because of this problem, and we can fix it with a more finite set of choices.
Yeah.
It's very fixable. Clearly, I'm very passionate about
Yeah,
it.
well,
That's how I want to
I'm
watch
glad-
television.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad to hear it. I can't imagine that when you're talking with prospective clients, they bring a certain mentality to the conversation about how to buy television and how to engage with it. For example, they will look at a show, Grey's Anatomy, and they'll say, I'm going to ride that show for 19 years, right? But streaming doesn't work that way. I mean, yes, you have some shows that have run for 4, 5, 6 years.
Like Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Yes, Grey's Anatomy is on
Yeah.
Netflix. I know that because my family's watched it 3 times through. I don't know why.
I don't like blood, so I've never watched it.
But I'm curious. Like, it seems like you might need to change the way you think about buying television in the context of streaming, and it's more about understanding the audience as it moves from show to show to show, as opposed to using the show as a proxy for an audience. Is that a fair way of putting it?
Yes, that's a great way to put it. So I think it does take kind of changing some mental models. While it looks and feels a little like broadcast, it's not. It's not how people watch things. They watch them, 8 hours at a time on a Saturday, and the week to week to week model is not the model that we are built on. Some streaming services are, some aren't, but the binge model has worked well for us. I think that if you flip it backwards in time, the goal was actually to reach, let's call it Grey's Anatomy, women of a certain age with a certain disposable income with a certain mindset. And Grey's Anatomy became the approximation for that set of customers. And then Grey's Anatomy became the kind of horse that led the cart instead of the other way around. We have the opportunity to say, okay, that person also watches Bridgerton, and guess what we know, because we're gonna be developing shows that are Bridgerton adjacent, for instance, that person is gonna stay with us, not only in a genre way, we know what else they watch. We also have Christmas movies. I actually think it's like a better way to do it because it's what you were trying to do in the first place. Mm-hmm. And then interestingly, Netflix originals have only been around for about 5 years. We just announced season 4 of Outer Banks, Witcher season 3 just started. The Bridgerton example is a great one where it's a mega hit. It's a Shonda Rhimes show, it's beautiful, it's premium. And so instead of saying, okay, Bridgerton's gonna run for 1 million years, and I don't know the answer to how long it's gonna run, great, people love these characters, let's do Queen Charlotte, which is in the Bridgerton universe. And I think that's how people should think of it, is follow the customer, because I actually think that was the original intent of these approximations anyway.
That's right. Yeah, good point. I wish we could keep going, but I'm getting flashed off.
Okay.
That's probably the wrong.
I was like, what?
That is definitely the wrong
phrase. That's not what's happening to me. Yeah. He has the better monitor, I guess. Yeah.
I hope you'll come back again.
It would be
and
my
give us an
pleasure.
update and a report, because I know that this journey is going to be very interesting, both for you and for the industry, as well, of course, for your company. So, Jeremi Gorman, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For coming to Signal. Bye.